these final couple of months were going to have a role in players making a push for this final 23 player roster heading to the World Cup. Before Lisa went off to go get married, Jordan, we did a little bit of a roster prediction. We talked about players who were our locks, and who we think is going to be on that plane headed to New Zealand and Australia. But we're a little bit removed from that now. In terms of what we've seen to close out the month of May and sort of kickstart June, who are some players that you think are trending up here, trending are a little bit hotter here?
Yeah. I think I have to start with the game I just saw and watching Casey Krueger in person and what she did. She is getting hot. Just from that game, 8 final third entries, the most on her team, 8 duels won, second on the team, 8 possessions won, second most touches. She was all over the place, and not to mention saved a goal with a little flick at the back post in the second half. And I said that might be, or in the first half, she did that, because in the second half, it was in the first half. And I said that might be the moment that we look back on and say, hey, if Casey Krueger wasn't there, this is a different result. And that absolutely would have been a different result. So I am going Casey Krueger, and I'm going to go Jaden Shaw. I have to. She got another assist.
I love it.
Didn't play that much, and she still affects the game in such a positive way. I'm going to bang on that drum. I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't care if it's not going to happen, because...
But you're right. She literally turned something out of nothing. I mean, just needed seconds really to come on into that game and shake it up for them against Gotham. And look, that's music to my ears. I love to hear you on the Casey Krueger train now. I had her as a lock for me, and you and Lisa hit me with the woes, and I'm like, hey,
smarter than us.
And I'm like, I'm keeping an eye on it, and we'll see. But I'm with you. I thought she had another great game against Angel City. I do want to maybe talk about this goalkeeper pool a little bit, because I was inspired by Germany still having competition with 4 keepers. Look, we all had our locks in with number 1 and number 2. Believe you had some praise for Kingsbury. Lisa and I thinking that it's still going to come down to Adriana Franch, but I want to bring a player who's gotten hot and has stayed hot. That if we're talking about Aubrey Kingsbury, maybe why aren't we talking about this player too? But Abby Smith has been doing some incredible things with Gotham FC. Do you agree? Disagree?
Oh yeah, I think she's had a great season. I think the thing that leads me to Kingsbury over Smith is just the consistency over a number of years. And unfortunately for Smith, she's been a backup for a couple of years in Portland, now getting that starting role, which she deserves. And it's one of the hardest positions in the league to get a starting position. It is a goalkeeper, because there's one on each team. And there's at least 3 or 4 sometimes. So yeah, I think Abby Smith has been really great this year, and made, a couple of weeks ago, she got player of the week and save of the week, I think, because she just was outstanding in some of the saves that she had. So I like that shout. I like you throwing her in there, put her in the bag. She's getting hot.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? Why not? I was like, if we're just looking at club play specifically over the course of these last couple months, why not, throw her head in the ring? I feel like in terms of the pecking order of things, Kingsbury would likely have that advantage as someone who had spent some time with national team camps over the course of the last 2 years to 18 months. So maybe I think if you're looking at orders of things, that's maybe how you rate them. But wouldn't be surprised if based on club play coming out of the World Cup, that we see some of these players that we're talking about trending up, getting hot, maybe get called into some of those kind of post World Cup camps as well. We definitely saw that with Andonovski as he took over the team, that he didn't shy away from calling in players who were trending up in the league, and typically brings in players based and try to reward them based on accelerated club play. So maybe a name that we'll hear kind of post World Cup. Now, while there are players who are trending up and getting hot. On the other side of that, there are players who are maybe kind of hitting a plateau, maybe even trending down a little bit. I mean, Jordan, is there a player that you still want to see a little something extra from in
Yeah.
the final, maybe even week to 2 week push to the World Cup roster?
Yeah, of course. We'll talk about those players. Did we skip who's been staying hot?
Well, hit me.
Okay, staying hot. Sophia Smith.
Oh,
Where's
yeah.
Crystal Dunn. Hello.
Yeah.
Alana Cook, Naomi Girma. I would say all those players are staying hot for me.
I think those were players who were also locks on all three of our
So I'm staying hot.
roster predictions. So
But you need them to stay hot.
been hot, stayed hot. Who's not?
Yes. Who is trending down? Okay, I have to look at my notes here.
Maybe not even trending down. Like, who's someone who's maybe like hit like a plateau, like who's just kind of like maybe not really moving that needle up or down, but you still want to see. I see it in I see it in a few Spirit players, honestly.
Ashley Sanchez, and I have watched the Spirit play, and I don't think this system is good for her. I don't think, and it's just, I can't put my, like, there are moments where I feel like, I don't know if it's her, and she can be this type of player who's like a little up and down. But when she's up, she's worth having on your team because the creativity that lives in her veins is so unpredictable. But I don't feel like she's affecting the play as much as she can. She's gotten some chances in front of goal and she's not capitalizing. Minus the one, I think, Challenge Cup, she had a worldie from like 30 yards away. So I would like to see more for her, and I think her stock is dropping a little bit. And then I think stock dropping on these players that are just a little bit unknowns. O'Hara, Purse, Rose Lavelle, have no idea what's going on there.
Yeah, we got to see the return of Becky Sauerbrunn in that Cascadia rivalry game. Came on late in the second half, but that's a good sign. That's a promising sign. You're United States women's national team captain back out there after this lingering foot issue, getting the minutes back up before hopefully heading to another World Cup. But that's not maybe the same for Rose Lavelle, and player like this is running out of time. I think if you're looking at trying to get her some minutes before they get into a camp, I thought you made a good point and an interesting note that a player like Rose Lavelle, that they might not actually need to play until later on into the stages of the World Cup. And it kind of kicked me back to the 2019 World Cup, and that was a similar game planning, I think, around Marta in Brazil a little bit. They said, listen, we know you're almost there, you're not quite there yet, but we're going to need you in this World Cup and in those later rounds. And what an incredible World Cup run that they had in a final knockout round match from Marta with her epic speech, right? But it brought me back to that. Has anything changed for you since we made our locks? Is Rose Lavelle just still that lock, even with the precautions that they're taking at this moment?
I think I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm the only one sitting in that position. Everybody wants to know what's going on with Rose Lavelle right now. But I still think she's on the plane.
Yeah.
Just because, too, the threat she brings, no matter if it's for 90 minutes, which I think everyone that is a fan of the U.S. team is hopeful for 90 minutes, or it's 10 or 15. She is crafty, intelligent, and that left foot is just a thing of beauty. So I think she's on the plane. You have her on the bench, and teams are planning to say, okay, what if Rose Lavelle comes in this game?
Another good point. Absolutely. I mean, we'll see. Look, I think folks would feel differently if they maybe saw her get some minutes before going into the World Cup. But I'm with you in that that's the kind of player that you take in the event that the group stage goes the way that you plan out for it, and make sure that you have her available and ready to go for those late stage games. But I wanted to bring that back on this episode because I said, you know what, Jordan, when you said that, it took me back to 2019, and I thought about Marta in Brazil and how she was kind of in a similar situation. And maybe there's some folks who are like, how are you going to compare Marta with Rose Lavelle? But I'm going to do that. I mean, these are two players who are that essential to their national team programs. because I think you absolutely want to have that creativity and that left foot, like you said, going into the World Cup with Lavelle. But we'll see. We're going to keep doing more World Cup content for you all as the days get shorter and shorter leading up to this summer's tournament.